Talk Show.
Recorded live.
You still there? Angela, I think you muted yourself. Anyway, everybody, today is 10/11/12. In case y'all didn't catch that. 10th day.
Is Angela unmuted?
Yeah, you're unmuted. 10th month, 11th day, 12th year, 2012. I don't know what happened to Angela.
I'll say, where is she? How could I be unmuted and not her?
I think once she turned it on, she got dropped off.
What state are you calling from?
She hung up just a second ago. I'm watching the board here. This is Jack. She should be back in just a second.
Well, hello, Jack.
How you doing?
Trying to get so I don't hate paperwork so much, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. I right after she hit record, it said she hung up. So it's typical of Talk Show. What can you say? Hey, Shrink, what's up, buddy? Anyhow, what was the subject going to be tonight? Anybody know?
No.
Don't know. Okay. She just got on the call. She should be up here in a second.
Okay,
there
I'm
you
back.
Are. Hi, Ann.
Oh, my goodness. I'm back. Hi.
It
wasn't a Talk Show. Thank you. It was Skype kicked me off.
Skype's been having problems all day. I couldn't stay on a Skype call more than 30 seconds, and it kept bouncing me all day long.
Gosh, I hate when that happens. But usually it keeps me on for at least an hour before it kicks me off. This time it just kicked me off real quick. Sorry about that. Yeah, I was saying today's date is 10/11/12. Isn't that interesting? I think it's interesting. You know, the 10th month, the 11th day, the 2012, 10/11/12. We'll never see it again anyway.
No, not
I think 12/12/12 is going to be cool.
Yeah, that one's good too. And 11/12 or 11/11.
Yeah.
12. But anyway, I don't have any special guest speakers tonight, so it's just going to be open discussion. If anybody wants to contribute any information, that'd be cool. If you've learned anything interesting, let me know. John Stewart sent out a qualified written request case. I haven't read it, though. I was starting to read it. I'm really interested in going to small claims court with a qualified written. Well, I'm waiting on getting the information back from my qualified written request, and then we'll see what happens. I may not have to go to court.
Wow. Tell me more about the qualified written request. What is it?
Well, it's the newest, latest one. It's from what's that? A foreclosure? Oh gosh, my memory is just not working today. I've been doing so many things. If you go listen to last Saturday, he mentions it. It's unless they're on the call. Sherry, are you on the call? Press *8 if you are. Is that it? There's a website, Foreclosure Network. I think that's it. You pay $5 a month to belong to it. But they came up with a qualified written request that has a couple of paragraphs that pertain to the Patriot Act. And it's pretty interesting.
Very good.
Yeah, they won't be able to. I doubt they'll be able to I'll tell you what the first two questions are. Pursuant to the USA Patriot Act, provide me the accounting and flow of all money as well as the source of funds related to this loan. And then provide the Committee on Uniform Security Identification Procedures, that's QSIP number, for the loan application pertaining to this loan. And then provide any and all QSIP numbers pertaining to this loan. And it goes on.
Very good.
It's only a 3-page or 2-page, 3-page. It's got 20 items listed that they need to respond to.
So the first gentleman that was speaking, he mentioned he uses only his proper name. Where all does he sign with that, and how's that working?
Well, he's on here. Wait. KMA Club. Go ahead. Dean, are you still on?
Yeah, what was she asking?
Go ahead and ask it again.
Where all do you sign with your proper name, and how does that work for you?
Oh, I do it on everything, even on my log sheet now. When it says down at the bottom of or where I sign it, it says driver's full name. I'm not the driver, I'm the owner. So I sign it as the owner, not the driver.
Okay.
I am no longer a driver in this truck. I am the owner, and I travel with my business to make sure that my business gets properly handled, and that's it.
Very good. Wow.
But yeah, anything you sign, what you do is you put on there back, : that means you're an authorized representative, and you're the authorized representative for your all capital name and for your lowercase name. And then that way, and you also need to put on there, especially if they're going to monetize it, you want to put on there all rights reserved pursuant to, USC, or UCC, 207 and 308 or something like that. I'm going to give me a stamp made up with that on there so that I can use that.
Okay.
And then the stamp will have it right or correct where I'll have it where I get it wrong every once in a while.
But Dean, before we got started with the recording, you were telling us about that ticket. Why don't you reiterate a little bit about that? So when the cop gave you the ticket, you signed it under duress, and what else?
Oh, yeah, under threat, duress, and coercion. And there's another, collusion, too, is another one you can put on there. But when you get in there, you have to remember to tell because the judge may ask you, what does this mean? And then you have to be able to tell them that's under threat, duress, and coercion. Man had a gun, man had a taser, and he had an accomplice pull up, too, that probably had the same thing.
Okay, so the cop took your ticket as you signed it?
So the reason you can't read it is because it was because I was nervous. I was in fear for my life. They had two men there with guns, and this guy was threatening to take me in if I didn't sign this paper. That is threat, duress, and coercion, collusion. And I signed it as just my first and middle name, first dash middle, and then :
And where'd you put under the threat of duress and coercion? Underneath?
Anything you put on there. Your signature needs to be the last thing on that document.
Oh, so you put that before you signed it.
Yeah, put it up above it.
Okay, and the cop took it that way?
Oh yeah, he didn't have a choice. Oh, here's another thing. You remember how No Tax Man says that you're what's your name said it too? But if you put it on your dashboard, they're not allowed to reach in and take it. Well, he threatened me to get out of my truck. So I got out of the truck, and as I'm stepping down, I told him, I said, okay, now, you're endangering our lives by having me step out of this truck, my life along with yours. Now, when I step down, I do not give you authority over me. Do you understand that? What? I said, I do not give you authority over me when I step down. And then he didn't say anything. And then I stepped down, and I said, now, let's go to the other side of the truck. In other words, soon as I stepped down, I took authority over him and had him move to the other side of the truck.
All right.
Then I took the driver's license or my CDL, which to me is just it is a certification showing that I do know how to take a combination truck and trailer out and bring it back and not cause harm to man or property. That's all it's for. And that's what they told us in school that it was for. They said our job is to make sure that you can take a truck and trailer out and bring it back and not cause harm to anybody or any property. And that's it. Okay, sounds like a wonder to me. So, but anyway, then I took the registration, opened the book up. I got all my paperwork in a book, and I've got it, got tabs to take you straight to whatever you need. So I opened it up to the registration, pointed to the registration, took the CDL and put it on top of it. And that was on the fender. He picked it up. I did not hand it to him, so I did not submit to him there either. So at no time did I submit to his authority. I asked him for his oath of office. He didn't know what that was. Well, that's a dereliction of his duty, a breach of his trust. Then when I told him, I raised my right hand. I said, I solemnly swear to uphold the Constitution. You didn't do anything like that? Oh, well, yeah, they got a copy of that. I said, you've got to have a copy of that on you. And you don't have it, you're out of uniform. I said, I need your business card. He wouldn't give me that.
Yeah.
What's that?
Well, you know how to walk your talk and talk your walk.
That's it.
My hat's off to you.
My biggest problem is knowing what paperwork to put in there to cover all this crap. Oh, that's the problem. And then they send you paperwork from the court, and you got to figure out how to fill that out without getting under their jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm.
And the easiest way to do it, I think, is going to be just putting in the paperwork for the.
Well, I'll tell you a couple things I've heard and I'm doing. At the top of that sheet, it says in and for so and so court in so and so county. You don't want to be in. I put notice where it says in, and then you want to come upon your demands. You know, you take charge of the court, and you come upon so-and-so demand, whatever you want to tell them is one way.
And you want to tell them you're on a special appearance as distinguished from a general appearance.
Okay, there you go.
That way, this is only for courtesy of the court so that I can show up and at least explain myself, and you got a picture of what's going on. I didn't thumb my nose up at you, Your Honor. I'm here. I'm a responsible driver, a serious citizen, but I have to object to the jurisdiction of this party because they don't have any, and they haven't proved it as of yet. And I direct your attention, Your Honor, to Title V, United States Code, Section 556D as in David, which basically says the proponent of a rule or order has the entire burden and proof of all claims. He hasn't proven jack, Judge. And so I'm objecting to his jurisdiction, and that's why I'm on a special appearance. And I thank the court for its very valuable time. Thank you, Judge.
That sounds like DM.
That's me, all right. I'm here, I'm there, I'm everywhere. Now you see me back at home.
Hi, Constitution Man. I'm so glad you made it. You know, I got kicked off again. So if you hear large segments of silence, it only means that TalkShoe or Skype has kicked me off, and I'm frantically trying to call back in. So I appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
Better quit playing games. That's all I got to tell them. They're going to find out what it's like to mess with the IRS. See, I believe in taking an idiot and marrying him next to an idiot. That lets one little person go free.
You know, I just sent you an email from Debbie. Did you get that one?
I haven't gotten to my computer yet. I'll probably be there in another hour or so.
Okay, no problem. The gentleman that was talking with you last call, I believe it was, he was a dentist.
Okay.
Needs your assistance or some advice, I guess, and is trying to get a hold of you, so I sent you his phone number.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Always send me the contact number, because a lot of times people ask and they write a nice letter and it's very pretty and it looks good, but then they don't give me any contact number. There's no way I can call.
Yeah. Well, I sent you his phone number, so.
I busted my crystal ball in 8th grade, so I don't.
See, that's what it says. Just be focused. Don't worry about the other one.
Who's that? New York City, is that you trying to say something? We can barely hear you.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's a mistake. I apologize.
It's okay.
Okay, then.
I'll mute you. All righty.
The truck driver on the paperwork.
That's Dean.
Yeah, he asked about, he said his challenges with the paperwork. Constitution Man, is there any way to do paperwork and not go to court that you are experiencing?
Usually it's better to go to court. The idea is if you go in and you show them you're a regular person and you have courtesy and you basically, are being responsible here and you want to do the right thing, but you're not giving up your constitutional rights. And at the same time, you're addressing the issues in a courteous and respectful manner. And see, after a while, they're going to put a code on your name, and they're going to realize we can't beat that guy. We can't beat that gal. She's really good. And see, that's what you really want. You want that code, because the next time you get pulled over, their sergeant is going to tell them, for God's sake, don't give that woman a ticket. Okay? And see, that's what you really want, because you don't want them. Let's face it, they're in business to make money. That's what they're there for. They're making money. And they have decided to use you as their conduit to make that money. But if you can show them that probably it'd be a good idea if you went and picked on some lesser knowledgeable person, because when we get to court, I'm going to rip you a new tail feather, and you just better understand I'm not playing. And I will get my damages. And see, once they understand that, then you get responses like, just a second, you wait right here. I'll be right back. Don't go nowhere now. And they'll go back to their car, and they'll call their sergeant, and their sergeant will say, for God's sake, don't give that woman no ticket. She'll end up owning the whole frickin' town. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that's what you ideally want. And then you have your peace, you see. The most valuable thing is your peace, where you feel you can go down the road and be left alone. I used to know this grandmother. She was so good. She had kind of a lead foot, though, and she would go a little fast through town. She drove this beautiful blue Corvette, and she thought she was a race car driver for the Indianapolis 500. And she would zip through town kind of fast. Of course, some cops would just get right on her and pull her over. And then she would have some postal mail on the seat. And then the officer would say, I suppose you're a postal person. And she says, that's correct. You're absolutely correct. And she said, well, we wouldn't want to interrupt the mail, now would we? Oh, that's a real good idea. It's felony if you interrupt the mail. He goes, okay, you go ahead and get on out of here and think about slowing down. I clocked you at 15 over or whatever. But see, you cannot mess with a postal person in their deliverance of their mail. So if you have some post on the seat and you tell them that you're an official business delivering this post, they'll get the idea that you're a postal something, and they can't mess with the U.S. mail. That's forbidden. They certainly can't give you a ticket. And a lot of times they'll just let you go. Now, just knowing little tricks like that, can help you a lot. The thing is, you have to come up with a program that works for you. Now, another lady friend of mine, she's got a program that works quite well. Apparently, in 1886, when all of these soldier boys came home from the Civil War packing all these things that went boom, 44 caliber cannons, and see, if you messed with my girlfriend, you were messing with your life, because I would be down at the saloon with my big 44 boomer, and we would be going out on the street to have a duel. So to stop the dueling, the government passed a law. In Michigan, it's called MCLA 600.1821, and it says you cannot arrest a woman for a civil infraction. And believe it or not, it's still on the book. So what I do is I copy that, and I give it to all my lady friends, and I tell them, keep a copy of this on the visor of your car. You get pulled over, just hand it to the cop will hand it to him. You hand it to the cop, and he'll just look at it and hand it back and say, think about slowing down and have a nice day, and then they go. Are you there?
MCIA 600.
CLA 600.1821, and it's in Michigan code. Now, every state in the union probably has something similar. But it's to stop dueling. That's what the purpose of the law was. Because all these soldier boys, if you mess with their girlfriend, you are messing with your life, you see. We have to step out in the street here. Draw your sword. You have offended me. I have the right to choose the weapon, you know. Da-da-da-da. And so they would have these dueling contests going all over the place. So first they passed a law outlawing dueling, and then they passed a law saying, well, we'll just eliminate the problem at the source. That way these ladies won't get jumped, and there won't be a reason for the duel. Now, having that kind of knowledge is power. And that's what you have to have. You have to have knowledge. And you have to have kind of a calm demeanor about you so that you don't even rattle, not even a little bit. And Granny, boy, she was a trip. I can remember a state trooper getting in her face one time, and she told him, Sonny boy, you get the hell off my porch or I'll break your face. And he says, yeah? You in what army? He says, well, if I can handle my Green Beret husband, I can handle you, pal. You know. So the cops would give her a wide berth. She was a badass, she really was. Cracked me up with some of the stuff she would come up with. But she would research this stuff, and then she would have it in her car ready to go. And when the cop would pull her over, she'd say, I'm on the post. I'm on the business of the post, the U.S. mail. And he'd go, oh, and I suppose we can't curtail the U.S. mail. That's right. That's felony. Okay, go on. Get the hell out of here. And they'd let her go. She was very good at coming up with these ideas. My hero, because that's what it takes. You have to have ideas. And you have to be willing to implement them, you see. Now, I don't know what all happened with Dean on this traffic ticket, but see, these cops, they go after truckers like there's no tomorrow. See, when you go get a little ticket out here for running a stop sign, maybe $80, $100, okay? But when a trucker gets a ticket, it's $2,000 or $5,000, you see. They really go after these truckers. And then they want to check the truck for safety, and then they want you to pull up on the scales. And if you even look like you're moving your hand toward the brake, that guy will jump through the window and rip your head off. Don't even think about touching the brake, pal. Because, see, if you touch the brake and you make that sound, you just broke his scale. You just pegged the needle on his scale, and that will piss him right off. That means he has to go back to the office and get a whole new set of scales to go out on the road and be a weighmaster, and that's a lot of money. And you will shut him down until he gets another scale. So he'll tell you, you touch that brake, buddy, you're dead meat. I'll impound your truck and arrest your ass. Because the truckers got pretty smart, and they figured out if they just hit the trailer brakes one time when they were on that scale, well, that would send the force down at like 10 times the force of the load on the carriage. And the scale, the needle would just keep going around and around and around it. So they got pretty smart. And so they say, I want to see both your hands out the window. If I don't see both your hands out the window, I'm taking your truck and you're going to jail. So you can't even have your hands in the cab and near the brakes when they're putting you up on the scales. There's a lot of things to know. But the bottom line is truckers have to be out on the road. They're there to do a great service. They literally deliver the economy of our entire society. And, man, they have people go after them like ravenous wolves because they know when they write them guys a ticket, it's $5,000. Or it's
the biggest thing is most of the time you're out of your home state. You're out of your element.
Yeah.
So you have to travel to. I mean, just like me, I only go from Richmond down to High Point, North Carolina, and back. But still, that's a day's drive, round trip.
Right.
So I have to hire somebody to drive my truck while I go down to the court, and then when they want you to show up in court, they want you to be there at 9:30 or 8:30 in the morning. So there's no way that you can do that on your regular run. Oh, plus they write you up, but they don't give you a parking place to bring your big truck and park it there.
Right.
Hey, there is one up on that one. My brother uses it when he's traveling cross country and they stop him. I don't know where he got it from, but he writes the letter to the judge and says, "Judge, the court must be accessible to the client, and since it's out of his state, it is not accessible for him." And he gets off every time.
Excellent idea. Now that's using your head. See, I like that.
Yeah.
So use your head. When all else fails, use your head. You'd be amazed some of the most simple things, and they work.
I don't know how he finds out who the judge is going to be, but he said he writes the letter to the judge.
It's on the ticket. It's right on the ticket.
Oh, okay.
It's right on the ticket. What court? And then you just call the court clerk and ask him, okay, who's the judge in this ticket number? And you give him the ticket number, and they'll tell you.
Yeah.
Oh, they don't tell me. I call them and ask them, and all they'll tell you is when the court date is, what time you're expected to be there, and that's it. Matter of fact, when you get one moved, when you in North Carolina, you can't even get a continuance, and even in the state of Virginia, when you ask for a continuance, they tell you that it's up to the judge, and you have to find out the day of the court, and if you don't, if you don't show up, they can still try you in absentia.
Yep, they can, and they will. Now, do you have a PC in the truck? Do you have your computer in your truck?
Yes, I do. I muted out. Sorry about that. Yeah.
All right. You got your computer in your truck. Just dial up the jurisdiction of that court that's on the ticket, and it'll give you everything about that court, who the judges are, who the court administrator is, and, where their location is. They'll usually have a little map to find a place, and all that stuff is on the computer. Just go to Google, give them the address of the court, and they'll actually give you a picture of the court and where it's at.
Yeah, because usually there's a tab on that court's website that'll say the judges, and then it'll give you a list of judges, and it'll say this one does traffic, this one does civil, this one does family, whatever.
Then you just call the clerk of the court and say, I have a case number so-and-so, and I'm trying to get the paperwork to the judge, and I need to know who is the judge on case number so-and-so, and then read the ticket number, and then they'll tell you who the judge is.
I don't usually get that much cooperation in North Carolina. A little bit better in Virginia, but not in North Carolina. North Carolina, they don't even put the address on the court. They tell you what the court is, and you have to go look it up.
Well, when you looked it up, did you find out any information about the court when you looked it up?
Yeah, that's how I found it. And actually, Mel looked it up for me. Not me, but when she found it, she sent it to me.
Okay, you can go and find encyclopedias. There are encyclopedias. As a matter of fact, there's an encyclopedia called Tom Thumb Books, and you can look up every judge. You can find out what kind of grades he got in school. You can find out his dispensation. You can find out whether or not he's got a good disposition. The Bar Association will usually have him rated as exceptionally knowledgeable or pain in the ass or something to that effect.
Tom Thumb Books? What was that called?
Thumb Books are green. And you go to the library.
Thumb Books?
Everything about your judge. You can find out what school he went to, what kind of grades he got, everything.
Yes, spell that. Thumb is a thumb on your hand?
Yeah, thumb on your hand, right? I always check on the judge before I go to Troy. We need to know what kind of judge you're getting. That way you know what kind of tack to push. And if he's a real knowledgeable, scholarly judge, well, then you better make sure your brief is real knowledgeable and scholarly. If he's just some schmuck that decided to run for election for judge because he wanted to be a big shot, well, then you know this guy is not deep enough to be able to argue ridiculous law to.
And they're only in the library.
Well, they're in libraries. They're also on the Internet.
Okay, good.
I mean, the Internet is so incredible today. I can remember in the old days, you'd have to spend hundreds and hundreds of hours in law libraries looking stuff up. Today, you just go on Google, you just type in the case, and boom, it comes right up.
Yeah, I like it.
It too.
It is.
Hundreds of hours. If I had to do everything that I had to do in the old days to learn all this stuff, my God, I don't think I could do that again. That was really a lot. I mean, We talk about tens and thousands of hours in law libraries looking stuff up. Now you just call up Google and boom, you're in.
Just love it.
Would you care to talk about subject matter jurisdiction and where all that can be used?
Subject matter jurisdiction, and it's actually stated subject matter jurisdiction and subject matter jurisdiction as applied to you, because it may not apply to you. But what they're talking about is the subject of the nature of the charge that's on the actual document, that's the complaining document against you. Now, if they don't have jurisdiction to make a complaint against you, how can there be a document that's complaining against you, you see? So then you would object and say there's no subject matter jurisdiction, especially as applied to me, Your Honor, may it please the Court. I would cite McNutt versus General Motors Acceptance Corporation, 56 Supreme Court 502. Now, the burden is on the plaintiff at all times to prove subject matter jurisdiction. That's Title 5 U.S. Code Section 556D as in David, and Higgins versus Levine. Now, it's his duty to prove it, and I have objected to his jurisdiction. I have timely challenged it, and before this matter can proceed further, I need to hear from him on his lawful jurisdiction, because he has yet to prove it. And he will shut up, and you shut up, then shut up. Don't say nothing, then shut up and listen. And then the judge will turn to him. Well, Mr. Prosecutor, what's the deal here? You say you have subject matter jurisdiction. Well, what is your subject matter jurisdiction? Let's hear it.
Does it have to be the prosecutor or the cop? What about if the cop doesn't have jurisdiction in the first place?
Let's talk turkey here. When you go to court, there's you on the one side of the court, there's the prosecutor on the other side of the court, and there's the judge. Now, the prosecutor is supposed to be the trier of the case. He's supposed to actually speak for the people. You are supposed to speak for yourself and your defense. The judge is just supposed to be a disinterested trier of fact. All he's supposed to do is listen and see if there's a merit to the case. Now, here's what usually happens. What usually happens is the judge takes over the case. And he'll start arguing like he's the prosecutor. And the prosecutor won't say two words after his appearance. And this really gets old fast. And you're arguing with this judge. Now, do you think really the judge is going to overturn himself? No. So if he argues the case the whole time, he's going to go with his argument. Does that make sense to you? What I usually do this, I ask the judge, excuse me, Your Honor, maybe you could help me here. I have an honest question. Who is the prosecuting attorney in this case? And he'll point to the prosecutor. I said, fine. Okay, he represents the people? Yes, that's right. Okay, and who is the judge in this case? And he'll say, well, I am. Can't you see? I got a black robe on. I'm the judge. I said, okay. Now, if you're going to be the disinterested trier of fact, Your Honor, and the judge, I'd really appreciate it if you'd let him be his own prosecutor for his own client and not you be the prosecutor and the judge and the trier of fact, because it's pretty obvious you're not going to overturn your own argument, now like the judge. And if you're going to continue to do that, I'm going to have to ask for a mistrial here, and I want a new trial because this is conflict of interest 101 here. And he will shut up, usually, and Mr. Prosecutor, he'll actually say, all right, pay attention, Mr. Prosecutor, you have to do some talking here, you know. I've had a whole bunch of things happen. I've actually had the judge say, I'll tell you what, I'm recusing myself in this case right now. That's the end of it, and you'll have to come back for another day. And he does that to pimp you, because he knows you took a day off of work, and you had to come all the way down there, and in your case, you had to drive all the way down to North Carolina, you know what I'm saying? So,
yep.
But the beauty of it is the next judge that comes up there will be watching his mouth. But you cannot get a fair trial if the judge is going to be the judge and the prosecutor. That's bullshit. You can't do that.
Right.
You've got to be sharp enough to realize when it's going on and say something. I'd have to.
Right. Object to it. And then another thing is have at least 2 to 3 people in the courtroom fill out the writ of mandamus on that judge because he has just violated his oath.
Well, he's done a lot of things. For one, he's done a conflict of interest. For two, he's actually violated your rights to a fair and equitable hearing. For 3, he's denied you due process because you had a right to a fair and equitable hearing and a chance to present your case in chief before a disinterested trier of fact. And so you're not getting that if he's the prosecutor and the judge, you see.
Yep.
You would have a right to actually sue that judge if you so chose to do it. But you got to watch how far you push stuff.
Well, I see another thing too is the cop that pulls you over. Well, one of the things under the what is that thing? Title 49, the DOT. Only the DOT can affect a CDL or a driver's license, and because that's who they're issued from in the first place. There's tag agencies in each state that can issue the license, the driver's license, and the CDL, but and they're all supposed to be commercial. You don't have to have one to run around the house and go to the grocery store, pick up the kids at school, and all that stuff, and to do personal travel. But anyway, only the DOT, the secretary of the DOT, can affect your driver's license or CDL.
But here's the problem with that. Not every state has their own DOD serious, what they call, the state police have their own special branch group that doesn't do nothing but, take care of the truckers on the road. That's all they ticket, okay? And that's all their, enforcement is on trucking and the safety of trucking and all that stuff. Some states can't afford the duplication of agencies, so what they do is they send their regular cops to do it. Now, what they do is when you get the ticket, that goes as a mark against your license, okay? And if you get so many marks against your license, they reserve the right to have the DOD look over your license and pull it, you see, for safety. That's what they get you on, safety. Especially if your truck is all jacked up and the brakes don't work and the lights aren't working. And if you get so many citations, they'll pull your ticket.
Okay, but now here's
they'll
the
find the company. They'll find the company so bad that it's prohibitive for them to even be on the road.
Yeah, I know. Well, North Carolina's got a habit of they find the trucker because he if you have a flat tire and you pull over, you call the tire company to come out and change the tire for you because you can't move anymore. And if a state trooper comes by and sees you, even a county, they'll come by, they'll see that you're pulled over, you got a problem there. Oh, now it's faulty equipment. They write up the driver and the truck for faulty equipment. Now the driver gets the ticket, then they send the ticket to the company also. That's double jeopardy.
Well, also the company fires the driver too if you get too many tickets.
Well, now here's the other. Well, I wouldn't fire the driver. I'd go after the cop. Now here's the problem with that. What does it say? That what is our basic fundamental rights? If there is no harm to party, there is no crime.
Right,
and anytime they go against that,
you volunteered into commercial commerce. Interstate
No. There cannot be a law, a statute, a code, a regulation, a rule, an ordinance written that goes against the Constitution. They cannot make you give up a right to be able to get in commerce. That is interfering with commerce. And if they go against that, now
they have a right to regulate. If you are in commerce, though, they have a right to regulate.
No, they have a right to keep it regular. Now, all this stuff about they have no more right to tell me how much water I can flush through my toilet than they do to tell me what the regulations are for me in my truck if I am not causing a harm to the people. If I don't hit somebody, I don't scratch up somebody's car, hit a telephone pole. Or if I don't damage property or people, there is no crime. Okay. Now they do not have the right or the authority to go against the Constitution. When they do, even in commerce. Well, wait. Let me finish. Now, when they do that, They are going against the Commerce Clause. Now, when they go against the Commerce Clause, that is warring against the Constitution. That is sedition and treason.
Right. Title 18, United States Code, Section 2381 through 2384. I understand. But they're going to claim under health and safety, the common good and welfare under the 10th Amendment, that they have a right to police powers to organize and or provide for the safety and public health and safety. And so what they do is they set normal standards of what is called acceptable safety requirements, and then if you join them in their adhesion contract license, you're agreeing to follow the rules of the road. They even make you raise your right hand. You agree to follow the rules of the road, and you say, yeah, of course I do. And then they give you the license, and then you have agreed to be a party to that contract. And then when they pull you over on the street, they claim their 10th Amendment right under police powers, the right of eminent domain of a state or political subdivision to enact laws for the common good and welfare and to curb crime. And then you can argue within constitutional limitations, see the 10th Amendment. And if there is a prohibition against them doing it, well, then you're right. Then they can't go against that constitutional prohibition. But if there is a pure health and safety matter, and you're on their road, and you're on their contract, they can require you to follow the guidelines for the safety of the public. And if
number one, it's not their road.
They can fight you.
Okay, I'm probably going
one at a time.
Yeah, I'm probably going to be dropping off here. See, I can tell I'm breaking up here. Y'all go ahead, and I'll listen in and see if I get dropped here. Thank you.
All right,
okay.
Keep out there putting the word out. Keep telling these cops where the line is. Because they really need to know where the line is, because a lot of them don't have a clue. And they think that that badge gives them unlimited capability just to step on people, and that's just not the way it is. Actually, if they thought about it, they would realize that that badge requires them to be more careful how they treat people than less careful. They're just supposed to know that, and you and I both know they don't know that, and that's why so many people are getting victimized. The only thing is, okay, you may get away with it 99.1111 times, but then you'll find that one guy, that hard nut, like Dean, and that guy will take you to court, and he'll sue your socks off. So you better just be a straight arrow and use good judgment and try and treat people the way you would like to be treated, and just treat people like, human beings and not be a jerk.
Constitution Man, have you heard from Robert Fox?
Yeah, I've got a couple emails from him. He's not doing so good.
Oh, gosh. What's going on?
Well, he's got some serious medical problems, and they're going to sentence him here shortly. And we've got to get these people off his butt. And, he's a fighter, a fearless and mighty adventuring man. He's been going through god-awful fighting all this time, year in and year out. Plus, he handles everybody's problems, you know what I'm saying? Well, this is taking a serious toll on his health, okay? And anybody who's been doing this for a while and puts the dedication and the service-conscious, pure, he really cares about people. He's always loved people and treated people with great dignity. He's a congenial fellow. And, even in the middle of his trials, he's helping people, right there in the courtroom, handing them papers over the rail. There is a point where you have to draw a line, and I've been there a bunch of times. Everybody's been there. After you've been doing this a while, if you're doing it serious, you're going to have serious health problems. And when you get in those problems, you have to make serious decisions. And your doctor is going to be leaning on you kind of bad. And I can tell you dozens and dozens of stories I got against the Dean of Harvard Law on Mark Scott show, and I'm going like great guns because he's talking about denying people's rights and having motions in the mind, which is a denial of their due process rights. And so I came on the program, and I just absolutely wiped the floor with his butt. And my doctor comes in, and he says, oh, man, you missed it. You missed it. You should have heard the radio program I heard on the way to work today. It was fabulous. This guy got on there, just took the Dean of Harvard Law just to pieces, wiped the floor with him. You would have been in your glory, And the nurse came in, and she hooked up the monitor for the blood pressure, and the needle went in the red, and this little shot came out and went in my IV, and the next thing I know, I went to sleep for 2 days. When I woke up, now that's the magic shot. You get out of bed, you get the magic shot. You give my nurses any shit, you get the magic shot. You get on that radio program on that Dean Harvard Law, you get the magic shot. Now, you got me, I'm trying to save your life. You get your blood pressure in the red, it's going to blow a gasket. Next thing I know, I got to go in there and do major surgery. You want to be paralyzed for life or what? Now, start using your head for something other than a hat rack. You know, and those are the conflicts that you run into, you know. My buddy comes up to see me at the hospital, and he goes, wow, man, that's some nurse you got. She's got to be a gunnery sergeant in the Marine Corps or something. I'll bet she's a lot of fun around shot time, you know. And I said, what's the matter with her? There's nothing wrong with her. She's a perfect good nurse. Matter of fact, she's the best nurse in this whole hospital. I said, she takes real good care of me. There's nothing wrong with her. He says, oh, man, she told me right off, if I get your blood pressure up, she would personally break my face, you know. And I said, really? She told you that? I said, this guy is about 6'4", about 320, you know, just a huge dude. Big white cowboy hat, you know, and I said, well, she was a gunnery sergeant in the Marine Corps. Her daddy was a gunnery sergeant at Guadalcanal. You know, that's where she gets it from. I can tell you right off. I said, but that nurse treats me, you know, better probably than she does her husband. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, can you get right up into your mic there?
She takes real care. How about that?
There you go.
All right, we're trying all electronic whiz kick shit, you know. Anyway, Robert is going through one of those times. He's really hurting. So I hope everybody keeps Robert in their prayers, because Robert has always been there for everybody. Robert and I go way back, well over 40 years. He named himself the Emperor of the South kind of as a joke at the time, and he got me my name, Emperor of the North, when he would write me in jail. You know, our magnificent hero and all this, Emperor of the North, and he put my name, and of course the guards would go, who the hell is this? And they go, that's over there, Pop's gonna get your mail, you know. And they would throw it to me, and it would be from Robert, you know, and he'd be trying to cheer me up and keep me focused, you know. Did I try this? Did I try that, you know? Robert is one of those very special people that you meet in your life, and, you know, if you can claim him as a friend, you've really, really done something big, because Robert is a very good friend to everybody, and we need to pray real hard for Robert right now, and we need to figure a way to get him out of the sentencing that they're going to pull on him, because it's all 100% illegal, immoral, and otherwise unjust. And
his latest contact to me, he's focusing on notice to the principal is notice to the agent, notice to the agent is notice to the principal, and he says, who is the principal? What do you say to that?
Well, what I say to that is the United States is a bankrupt corporation. They don't exist in law. As of House Joint Resolution 192, June 5, 1933, they actually went on the record before the 73rd Congress and declared their insolvency and bankruptcy. That was also declared before Congress by the Honorable James Traficant of the U.S. Congress, who they put in a mental hospital for daring to have guts enough to do it. And he actually stated for the record that the United States was a bankrupt corporation. So it follows that all 50 states that are member states of the Union of these United States would be also bankrupt. Now, technically, a bankrupt corporation is civilly dead. They don't exist. They do not exist in law. And the only one that can speak for a bankrupt corporation is a trustee of the bankruptcy court. As soon as that prosecutor gets up speaking, Robert should be collaring him and saying, excuse me, Your Honor, I object to this party speaking at all. He's not a trustee of the bankruptcy court. I checked with the bankruptcy court. His name isn't on the list. I actually have one of his business cards right here that I got before this hearing even convened this morning, and right on the card, he doesn't even have raised letters, so he's not real proud of what he does, but if he was a trustee of the bankruptcy court, there'd be raised letters on this card, Judge, and there'd be a statement to the effect that he's a trustee of the bankruptcy court. Now, if he's not a trustee of the bankruptcy court, he don't even have a right to speak on behalf of the bankrupt corporation, and therefore, Your Honor, may it please the court, there is no attorney here to appear for the plaintiffs. And since they didn't show up in court today, I would immediately move to dismiss the case for cause, failure to appear, and default the plaintiffs with prejudice because they had every chance to show up today. Today was the day and that date set certain, and they didn't show up. And therefore, Your Honor, may it please the Court, I move to have this case dismissed with prejudice. Failure to state a cause of action upon which relief and granted, and default pursuant to Michigan Court Rule 2.603A through D. And they didn't verify any excuse for not even appearing. Matter of fact, you didn't even get a phone call, did you, Judge? And then I shut up. And then the prosecutor will turn and goes, you have got to be kidding. I said, sir, I never joke about law. I take law deadly serious. I've seen men die miserably so that we could have the honor and the great tradition of being able here to stand and discuss this like intelligent, rational adults. So when I am talking law, sir, it's deadly, deadly serious to me. I shut up. And the judge goes, all right, that's enough of that. You shut up. You sit down. I'll tell you when you can talk. Then they'll turn to me, and the judge will say, in light of the facts presented to the court this morning, this court will dismiss all charges against the defendant. You are released in your own recognizance. And may I say, sir, it is my privilege to have had such a person in my court of your distinction and serious history of defending the Constitution. And I also respect the fact that you're one of the most courteous gentlemen I've ever met in my whole life. And I'm dropping these charges, and I'm releasing you in your own recognizance. You're free to go. And they let me go in jail clothes sometimes because they don't have any clothes to give me. And I walk out, and the cops are pulling their guns. How'd you get out of the lockup? I said, the judge ordered me released immediately. You can go check with her if you want. And the bailiff will usually come along. No, he's free to go. Judge says he's heavy duty. Let him go. And they'll let me go. But see, that's the kind of tactic we need to do with Robert and have him go in there and hammer it right to him. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, there's no way we're getting out of it. It is true we are a bankrupt corporation. It is true we don't have a cause of action for which relief may be granted. It's true we fabricated all of these complaints. It's true we don't have any jurisdiction, and he has timely challenged jurisdiction. It's true the prosecutor never answered his pleadings, so Robert's pleadings are admitted entirely as true, and if Robert's are true, how can they possibly win? They can't, you see. Now, that's the kind of tactic we have to get Robert to do.
Well, I hope you guys are working on that.
We're working on it, and Robert is fighting just to breathe.
And,
want everybody to say their prayers that Robert can make it through this.
Yeah.
Well, that's another thing there. Tell him that, when you're on a plane, one of the things the stewardess tells you when she's telling you about the mask, put the mask on yourself before you put it on the child. Well, right. That's because the child might fight, and then there's both of you are without your mask on, and then you pass out. Where if you put the mask on you first, even if the child passes out, you can still put the mask on him. So that's what he's got to think of when he's in there doing his court case. He needs to think about doing his court case, get his mask on, get that court case handled, then he can help the other people.
And see, he'll be juggling 20, 30 cases at a time while he's doing his own case right there in the courtroom. And that, just the mental gymnastics of doing that, and I've done it. I do it all the time, but it's the mental gymnastics of doing that is extremely hard on your system, especially your blood pressure. And, of course, you really care about these people. I don't want to see anybody go to jail. One of the weights that's on my shoulder when I'm helping somebody is this, hey, look, you got to tell these people the straight shit. You can't just make something up and wave your hands and throw it at them and hope to God they may get it right, and not go to jail. And see, it's very serious to me when I'm telling people and trying to help them that we do the thing right so that you don't go to jail. And just last week I had a guy, and he was killing them. He was winning. They couldn't answer his brief. So he goes into court, and he's of a strict Muslim faith. And when the bailiff said, hear ye, all rise, this guy would not rise because in his religion, he didn't believe that a man should rise for another man above God, you see. And so he wouldn't rise. Well, the judge gave him 6 chances to rise. Well, he was winning, for Christ's sake. What would have hurt him to stand up and just, say, excuse me, Your Honor, I didn't hear you, or something to that effect. But he stood his ground and wasn't rising for a man over God. Well, the judge took a real dim view of that and threw him in jail for 30 days. So it took a lot. I had to get a hold of his wife, and then I had to explain it to his wife. And see, his wife is not legally programmed, so she was very frustrated and trying to walk her through this whole program to get rid of habeas corpus again. And we wrote a letter of apology to the judge, so this is a misunderstanding, a cultural misunderstanding, and we want you to understand there was no intent to, discue judge or to, show disrespect. It was just a cultural difference between religions. Well, luckily, the judge was a serious judge, and he bought it and let our guy out. But he told him that, you're here in this country. You chose to come to this here in this. You're supposed to learn culturally what you're supposed to do and not to do, and you're going to be held to the same standard anybody else is. And if you don't follow the rules, you take a chance of going to jail. Because if you're doing it in my court, I will put you in jail. You see. But that judge gave him 6 chances to rise. Now, normally a judge will only give you 2 chances. They'll warn you twice, and after that...
Yeah, but why should anybody have to rise to that son of a bitch who's a fake priest sitting on an altar ready to sacrifice your ass? Why?
These meetings too long.
It gets me going.
You're right. I just got her going now, boy. She's ready for the rest of this call. You're absolutely right. Truthfully.
The thing is, they have conviction, and we get to have conviction.
I understand. If you don't follow the program, he would have won that case hands down. As a matter of fact, the prosecutor actually told him.
So are you saying he lost the case because of that?
He went to jail, yes. But we had a rehearing just this week. He's got a rehearing, and they reset the thing for retrial, so we're probably going to get everything dropped here shortly.
Well, yeah, if it's his religious beliefs, first of all, if it's his religious beliefs, he has a right to have his religious beliefs.
The First Amendment, they have to honor his beliefs, yes.
And I don't know why anybody has to stand for one of those people. I really don't.
Do you want to know why? I'll tell you why. In the old days, you see, when they called the court to order, they wanted to make sure there was nobody sleeping in the court. That's why this all came to be. It wasn't to give the judge any special treatment or anything. It was to make sure that the court was awake and that they were paying attention and that come, hear ye, come and get.
Yeah, it was. They were saying something entirely different. It wasn't all rise. It was something else.
It was about to make sure that everybody was wide awake when we do this, because we ain't hanging nobody unless everybody's awake, and we got this thing on, and everybody gets their chance to listen up here. And see, that's how the cultural thing started, because I've checked all the way back in history. They wanted to make sure everybody was awake and competent to be there in court. So they made everybody stand up, and you're a moving body, okay, you're good. Later it got twisted into showing some honorary title to the judge, you see. That never was the original purpose. Okay? Somehow...
Yeah, I remember reading somewhere that the bailiff or whoever, the sheriff, whoever... it wasn't even them. They were saying something entirely different, though, and it sort of morphed into this.
Yep.
I can't remember what it was.
Recall the chancellor. They used to call him a chancellor. He would come out, in the place of the bailiff, and he had a big staff, and he would literally hammer the staff 3 or 4 times on the hard marble floor or the hard stone floor, and you would hear bam, bam, bam. Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. All gather near and be heard, okay? And basically that's what word morphed from that custom and usage thing, okay?
Oh, I thought it was some Latin term that was being said. But what do I know? I read so much I get mixed up. But I don't believe anybody should have to stand up for a public servant.
Grandiose, whatever. Shouldn't be any.
How did the honorable get started?
Well, the honorable started by
religion.
Well, no, believe it or not, it wasn't religion. It was actually, it started with the titles of nobility. See, if you had a title of nobility, you were an honorable lord, okay? So it was the honorable Lord so-and-so of Westchester or what have you, you see. And so that's how it got started. And then gradually it got shortened to just honorable. And now if you go into Congress, it's the Honorable Congressman so-and-so, you understand? And it's more custom and usage than anything else. You know, it's little things that you pick up from reading, and you have to do a lot of reading to get to these points. Like, a lot of people, when they got on a map in the old days, well, some surveyor did that map. And in the old days, they would pick a known graphic, big something to cite off of, okay? Like, say, a river that runs through a town. And then they would do 1,000 chains off of that river north, okay? Well, when they went 1,000 chains up, that was 1 mill rod. 1,000 chains is a mill rod. And they'd write down on the map. And then 2,000 chains was 2 mill rods. And then 3,000 chains was 3 mill rods. Well, it got abbreviated. And over a period of time, it morphed into mile road. So now everybody thinks, okay, north of the river, that's 5 mile road, 6 mile road, 7 mile road, 8 mile road. It never was a mile road. It was 1,000 chains. It was called mill rod. And over a period of time, the language changes and morphs into different things. Well, it's the same thing with custom and usage, okay? I said to this gentleman, I said, well, why does your wife wear that scarf on her hair when she goes out in public? Well, it's part of our culture. I said, well, what's the difference? He said, well, you got to understand, in our culture, our women are held in a very protective state. It's not meant to disrespect anybody. It's that no man shall look upon my wife with desire, you know, and commit a sin against Allah, okay? And so they cover their hair and their face. And a lot of times you never get to see an Arab woman's face unless you're friends with her husband and you come home with him, you know, and then there's a kind of an implied permission from her husband that she shall show her face and her hair as her most womanly things. They hold this respect thing, and they want their women to feel protected, and like men aren't just leering at their women. So that's how they started this thing. And see, now when you go into an Arab community, all the women wear this burqa, you see. And it's more of a protection for them so that men aren't leering at them.
Okay, but what does that have to do with the judges and the whole, you know, it's a religion, because it's exactly like a church.
I was trying to explain to the guy, you have this custom and usage in your culture, right? And he said, yeah. And I said, and everybody in your country knows that, right? And, well, yeah, they do. And if you go against that, I mean, if you go and rip that scarf off a woman's head over there, man, you can get dead real quick. They'll stone you right there in front of God and everybody, you know what I'm saying? And that's their culture. I said, well, now you're here. Have you ever heard the term, when in Rome, do like the Romans do? I said, well, you're kind of in that situation. Now, if a man came up and ripped that scarf off of your wife, you'd break his face right now in a heartbeat. Probably kill him. I said, exactly. So this is a tradition that's with you that's very deadly serious, and you take it real serious, and it's about respect, and it's about your culture and your religion, right? Well, yeah. Well, this judge, and in America, they have things here that are culture to them. And when you go against them, they take it real serious, too. That's why the judge threw you in jail, you see.
Yeah, but they're the public servant.
I understand that. You understand that. But they have their...
They're not supposed to be, you know, over us. To be the other way around.
That, and you know that. Now, I got in a pissing contest with this judge one day. He's a real prick, and all the lawyers are scared to death of this judge, and he's rather notorious. And my client really needed help. Her husband had literally stolen all her bank accounts, stolen all her money for her tree cutting business, and basically took the books and ran. And she had 3 beautiful kids, and she needed some money, and she needed serious help that day. And she didn't have the money for an attorney. And so she was going to be pro se litigant. So I was teaching her how to go to court, okay? And I'm teaching her, and this judge, he is a bully. He really is a bully. He just is a big bully. And most attorneys hate even going before him because he belittles everybody. So I was going in there, and I was going to just break trail for her, and then I was going to hand it to her and let her tell her story to the judge and let him issue an order so that she would get child support and she would get money so that she and the children could live and stay in their house, okay? Now, I get right up there, and right out of the chute, this judge is in my face. Are you an attorney, sir? I said, certainly not. Attorneys are the lowest creatures that crawl on the face of God's green earth. And he goes, I am an attorney. And I said, well, Judge, you have a right to remain silent. You have a right to an attorney. You have a right to have your attorney present in your question. If you say Ken won't be able to get into the court of law, you can 431 be appointed by the court. He goes, one more crack out of you, and you will be a guest of the state. I said, well, Judge, you did ask me to raise my right hand. You did ask me to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God, and by God, I told the truth. And he goes, that'll do it. 30 days in the cooler, you know. And the bailiff came and took me, you know. He took me to the little jail cell behind the court. And I'm in there, and I'm singing, I'm going to sue, 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 down in my heart. Down in my heart, down in my heart, I'm going to sue, 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 sue. Well, the people could hear me out in the court through the wall. And they all started laughing. And so the judge says, what's he doing back there, bailiff? And the bailiff said, he talking about he going to sue, sue, sue down in his heart, Your Honor. He says, you get that joker out here right now. And so he brought me back out. He says, you see anybody else in here wearing a black robe? I says, no, sir, I sure don't. He says, that kind of means I'm the boss, huh? And I said, well, yes, sir, it does. And I got to keep order in this court. You can understand that, right? Well, yes, sir, I can. He says, and if I get a joker like you coming in here trying his comedy castle routine, I can't keep order. Everybody's laughing. We don't have no kind of anything constructive and organized in the court. You can appreciate that, right? Well, yes, sir, I can. And I says, but you come overpowering me, jamming me, you know, talking down to me. You don't even get my story of why I'm even here. You certainly don't want to hear from my client who's in dire need of this court's assistance. And I'm trying to make sure all she does is get her chance to get up here and present her case in chief under Haynes v. Kerner, 404 U.S. 519, which is her right to do. He says, that's your client over there? I says, that one right there. He says, come up here, ma'am. He says, all right, I want to hear your story. But first, I'm going to let you go, young man. I'm going to let you go with a warning, but you ever come in here and pull a stunt like this again, you are going to be a guest of the state. You have your toothbrush in your pocket because you're going. And so he let me go, and then he let my gal tell her story. And then when the judge heard the story and realized how bad she'd been abused, this court's issuing an order right now for child support, and, you know, he has to return all of the books and records for your business immediately or he's going to jail. And, I mean, he did everything that we wanted him to do and give her help. And walking out, she's crying, you know, tears coming down her cheeks, and she says to me, I think I got my dignity back today, Carl. And I says, yes, baby, you did. I says, well, what's even better, you got money coming here now for food for the kids, and you got a roof over your head, and we'll make sure you get everything that judge ordered, and then your husband's going to have to get real and start treating you like a human being, and this is bullshit, and you're not going to have to go through this kind of crap again. We're going to just get you to a good divorce attorney, get the matter resolved, and you're going to be fine. But you got to use good judgment here. I mean, you realize this judge really cut you a lot of slack today. You didn't have to do that. She said it was you, Carl. If you hadn't showed him you weren't backing down, I think I wouldn't have gotten any relief. I said, well, there's part of that true, too. You could tell by watching the attorneys how afraid they were of this judge. They were just mortally afraid. Nobody would speak up to this guy the way I did. Nobody. But see, this is hard when you're trying to get your day and you run up into the system, and if you don't even understand the culture or what have you, or the way to talk to these people, or at least hold your ground with these people, man, they don't cut you any slack, not even a little bit. So you just get railroaded, and there's no future in that. Why'd you even bother coming? You're just going to get railroaded.
Yeah, that's what I say. Why bother coming? I don't know. Why go? Aren't they foreign agents and, you know, posing as government officials? Aren't they fake? Aren't they like government agents? They're not. They have nothing to do with you and me.
You're speaking emotionally from a point of view of that's not fair. They shouldn't do this. This is not proper. And you're speaking because you honestly care and you'd like to see it fixed. But the problem is they got their ways of doing things, and if you don't understand their ways of doing things, your chances of getting some relief are really slim. And if you don't,
want to take a question?
Go ahead. We don't want to. Somebody wants to get on you. Jump. Let's go.
I think it's Nancy. Is that you, Nancy?
No, Patricia.
Oh, Patricia. I'm sorry. That's right. Nancy's in Colorado. I always get you guys confused. Hi. Did you want to ask Constitution about a question?
Yes. I need to do a writ of mandamus to get the township here to obey a law. And we were told by a federal judge to do a writ of mandamus to get them to obey the law. And I don't know where to get a form, if there's a template or what.
There is a form. It's in Bender's Notes and Publications. You go to the law
Where?
library. It's a blue book. It's called Bender's Forms and Notes. And it's
Bender's? Could you spell that?
B as in boy, E as in Edward, N as in November, D as in David, E as in Edward, R.
Bender's. Okay.
Bender's. Forms and Notes. It's a blue book. It's like a, it's like a book. It's like you had when you were in school, a binder, you know. And it's got every form that you could imagine to go to court. Okay.
Where do we get this book?
In any law library. It'll be in any
law library.
Any law library will have it. And then you look
in other words, just make a copy of it, look it up in the book, and make a copy of it.
Information and paperwork on it, and put your court issues on that form, and then submit that as your writ of mandamus. Now, a writ of mandamus is a writ to compel a judge or some officer.
Could you speak into the phone?
I'm sorry, this thing is not working too good. All right.
Yeah.
A writ of mandamus is a command to an officer, a sworn officer, to do his sacred duty.
Okay.
You're commanding him to do a sacred duty, and you have to actually spell out that duty. You have to actually show him what you're doing with that request, and then you're actually asking for relief of the court to issue an order where you would go, wherefore I pray for the just and lawful relief of this honorable court to grant an order, and then you're compelling them to do their duty and honor the law.
Well, is it enough to just state the statute that we want them to comply with?
Yep. You could state the statute and tell them that they're in noncompliance at this time, and you're asking them to comply.
Okay. Now, is this something where you have to go into court to defend it, or just?
You have to. They may just do it. They may just do it in writing. It can go either way. If you request it, they have to give you the hearing.
Now, well, that because we don't know the first thing about going into court. My friend. Sorry.
Truthfully, if you put the thing in, just the mere act of putting it in will usually get them to try and work something out with you. If they see that you're ready to go to court and that you got your ducks in a row and that you got the form and the format and that you've got the statute and the law, usually they'll try and call you up and say, hey, look, can we talk about this? Would you come down? Let's have a meeting on this. Maybe we can do what is called a concurrence on this pursuant to Title 28 United States Code Rule 41. You're supposed to, before you do anything in court, you're supposed to make an honest attempt with the opposing party to resolve the issues before you go to court. That saves the economy of the court. And if you don't do that concurrence, usually you'll piss the judge off big time, and he'll usually throw your papers right in the basket.
We've been trying to get them to obey this law for 3 or 4 months now.
Okay, well.
We're doing over requests and letters, and finally we wrote a certified letter to the mayor. Basically, they're not giving their one correct name, so we don't even know who these people are in the town.
Really?
The name of the town. They were supposed to submit, according to this law, their one correct name to the Secretary of State and to the county clerk, and they haven't done it.
Well, how did they file an oath of office then?
Pardon?
How could they possibly have filed an oath of office then?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, that's kind of like required. Well, leave an email with Angela, and I will send you some files that will have information on how to force these people into compliance. But my suggestion to you is to fill out everything of what you want to do in writing. Go get a copy of that form, and then explain to the parties that are the powers that be and where your town is what's about to happen, and tell them that if necessary, you're ready to go to court and you're ready to seek serious litigation on this, and we're going to be filing a writ of mandamus to compel you to do your sworn duty, and that if you don't do it, we're going after your oath of office and your bond.
Oh, okay.
You can't work without a bond, and if we make a collateral attack against your bond, you're done. There's no insurance company that'll bond you after that. So you need to understand we're not playing here. You better just do what we want, honor this request that you fix whatever's required to be fixed, or we're taking you to court, and you're not going to be able to get out of it.
Do I send them a copy of the writ ready to get sent into court?
Yeah, and then tell them that I'm going to be filing this very soon if you don't take care of business on this. And usually they will sit down and want to do a meeting, you know. Well, let's see if we can't do a meeting. Okay, all right. What time and date do you want to be? All right, notify me the time and date. All right, I'll go. And make sure you take a couple witnesses with you, okay? So that you say you did it.
Okay. But what court does this really go into? We didn't ask that far.
That's an interesting question. How much money is involved, first of all?
Well, there is no money involved.
How much property is involved?
Pardon?
There has to be some defining thing that says, like, it's above $25,000 in claim. If it is, then it goes to the circuit court. If it isn't, then it goes to the district court. If it's below,
we're dealing with them following a statute.
Well, it probably would go to circuit court or to the superior court of your county.
Okay. What about the
So what's actually being asked and how much value is involved? Now, is this involving some property in the town?
Well, not really indirectly, but not directly.
Have you ever gone into a bar and seen one of these machines? You put a quarter in, and it's got a little claw on it, and you reach down with the crane and
you
pick the doll up, and then you drag the doll over the hole in the chute, and then if you can get the doll over the hole, you open the crane, and then it'll drop the doll into it, and you can get it out of the machine.
Right.
What we're playing here is that right now. Now, if I told you that even before you put that quarter in, I don't care if they took the top of this machine off, you ain't getting one of those dolls out of there because they pack them in there so damn tight that you couldn't reach in there with your hand and rip one out. So your chances of getting a dollar somewhere between 0 and none, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I wouldn't have to tell you very many things. Oh, and by the way, the crane doesn't lock when you push the button to lock. It just slips right off the dial. I mean, I could go into all these numerous things about the game. We're kind of playing that right now. I have no idea what's going on in your town. You haven't filled me in. I have no idea where you're going with or what. You know exactly what they're doing and how you want to fix it, but I don't know that. So I'm at a great loss here.
Well, okay. Well, basically,
it's in the machine and get no place fast.
Basically, they are operating under a name that is not authorized to be in existence.
Okay.
And they're sending out tax bills in that name, and we want to know who the hell they are.
Okay. And have you submitted questions to them?
Oprah requests for the past 2 years.
Okay.
And we even sent them the tax bill, and there's no dollars, no dollar signs on the tax bills, and asked them, what the numbers are on there, and all kinds of questions.
Charter on this organization?
Pardon?
Have you ever
charter?
Pulled the charter on this organization?
Well, we got from the state that their name is the Township of Riverville with a capital T, capital T for the, capital T for Township, and they're not operating on some other entity. Township of Riverville, in all capital letters, is sending out tax bills.
On the tax bill, what does it say? Is it the same name that the state told you?
No.
Were you able to go in the business assumed names file? Every county has what they call an assumed names file, and every single business enterprise, anything, any company, any of that stuff is in what's called the assumed name file. And when you go check to the assumed names file at the county seat, they'll tell you all the names of the people who are hooked up and what they're doing under this name. Have you ever tried to go to that assumed names file and find out who these people are?
No, but what I did find out, I've never heard of an assumed name file, but we did find out that there's such a thing called the an unregistered unincorporated contractor.
Okay.
And this name, Township of Rivervale, they registered. Now they're a registered unincorporated contract with the trade name of Rivervale Country Club.
Really?
That's the closest I can get.
Let me ask you a question. Is this on Indian land?
No.
Okay, all right. The reason I ask is because sometimes they have corporations and or chartered and franchise that operate on Indian land under a different name, okay?
Yeah, no.
All right, now.
So where do I get this assumed name?
Done a request for the admissions to these people?
Would I send an OPA request to the county?
Yeah, you send them what's called a request for admissions, and you say, okay, you say you're this person, or you're this corporation, or this organization. All right, tell me about yourself. Who is this organization? And where are they chartered out of? You see, and then they got to tell you.
That we do that, and they fall silent. You're talking about the county itself or the township?
Have you ever hauled them to court? You have a legal right to call them to court on that.
Well,
all right. Do you have an attorney that's even working with you a little bit on this?
Do I have an attorney?
Yes.
I wouldn't go near an attorney with a 10-foot pole.
But we can get into all this dialogue. We can get into all of this stuff. You're right. Attorneys are bad. I can go on. I probably have more stories than you got after 45 years of battling in court. Let me tell you a secret.
We're fading again.
Getting no place fast. You understand? You need somebody that can at least direct you somehow a little bit. There are some really good attorneys out there, but you got to make the effort of checking them out and seeing if they have a reputation that they keep their word, that if they take your money...
I can't see you. You're breaking up.
That if they take your money, they deliver. You know what I'm saying? There are some very excellent attorneys out there. I have met them. And you know what? I refer people to them because they can, how do I explain this? Did you ever go fishing in your whole life?
No.
Never in your whole life? All right?
No.
Let's wanted to go fishing on a given lake. Do you think it would be better to hire a guide to show you where the fish are and what they're catching them on? Or do you think you'd just like to beat your line off?
The thing is, an attorney is part of them. They're,
Just follow me here. I'm going to draw
okay.
that you're going to be able to see. Obviously, it would be better to hire a guide who actually knew the lake, right? Who actually knew where the fish were, what drop-off they were hanging off of, what they're actually biting on. And you go with him, and okay, you pay him for a one-day service. Maybe he charges $200 a day plus expenses. Okay, but then the next day you know right where to go. You see what I'm saying? Where if you go out there, you could spend 2 months trying to figure out where the fish are and what they're feeding on. You see my point? Sometimes it's better to have a guide. And you look upon the attorney as a guide. And if you can get a good one, he can cut off a whole lot of expense, research, aggravation, and actual communication problem. And you know what? The other side is going to say, well, they got an attorney. It looks like they're serious. They paid an attorney. So you might get a lesson maybe, where if you're just a pro se litigant, they're just one of these back alley garage they have constitutional issues that they're constitutionally challenged is what I hear a lot from administrators, So they're just a bunch of wackos that are in a garage talking shit, okay? You see, when you come to court, the judge actually forms an opinion on you right away. If you don't have an attorney, I've actually heard judges say this in open court. Well, she doesn't have an attorney. She must not care about this case. Why should I?
Okay, we're going to move on. Patricia, is that good enough for you?
Yes, I have to send an email to you.
Yes, send me an email. I'll send you some files.
What am I supposed to ask now in the email?
Just put Constitution Man in the subject line, and put your phone number in the email.
And then I'll get you.
And mention the blue book.
You want to go to the law.
Writ of mandamus.
You want to go to the law library. You want to look up Bender's Forms and Notes. And it looks like a loose leaf binder, okay? And it'll be a blue book usually, and it's about maybe 10 by 14 square.
Okay.
And usually it's in the reference manuals. And just go get Bender's Notes and Forms, and it'll have every single form you could ever want to know about going to court. Then you look in the index and say writ of mandamus. It'll tell you the exact page to go to, and it'll give you an exact copy of a writ of mandamus, what it looks like. Then you copy that and use that as your template, and then put your issues in there to try and figure out, how you're going to compile your mandamus, okay? Then when you get it done, it must have a certificate of service attached to it. Everything that goes to court has got to have a certificate of service where you swear that you did serve it on the opposing party, okay? All right, and if you don't know what it looks like, go into Bender's Forms, look up certificate of service, and it'll show you one, okay? Now, you get that all together, and then you draft your curt little letter. Dear sirs or madams, or to whom this may concern, please be advised, I need to know some serious information. I'm willing to sit down with you. I am a reasonable person, but we need to have this information, and you are going to provide it one way or another, because if you don't provide it, we're going to take the court action against you, and we're going to file this writ of mandamus to compel you to provide the data, okay? See? Now, can we talk? Let's set up an appointment. We'll be happy to come down and talk to you, but these are questions that we genuinely have, and we want you to answer them. And you put in your request for admissions, a request for you to admit. What is the name of the township? What is the name of the city? What is the name, and you put your questions, all the questions that you have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You give them, say, 14 days to answer or reply. We will give you 14 days to answer or reply timely. If you do not answer or reply, I will assume that you have no honorable intention to resolve this matter, and I will proceed immediately with litigation. Okay? Now,
very good.
If they got to get an attorney, they're talking $5,000. You think they're going to want to screw around? They're going to probably answer your questions. If they don't answer your questions, they better have a loose $5,000, because that's what an attorney's going to want, just to even put his name next to theirs. Okay? In the meantime, I suggest that you get friendly with some person in that town who is an attorney, who basically has got good character and good references and good friends, and let's see if we can't get an attorney to get on this committee to help you people find out what's going on. You might surprise yourself and find out there is an attorney out there who's really good, who actually does care about the community and where the direction we're going. And he may come on the bandwagon and not even charge you a nickel for doing it. But you can't just presume everybody is a yahoo and then not go get somebody to help you, because you do need help. I think you know that. That's why you're calling this radio program. Now, the bottom line is we need to get a program where we have an organized group that's going in there that is going to represent a serious group that's going to get attention. Now, if you just go in there ranting and raving and yelling, you ain't going to get nothing but, spit.
Yeah, make it worse.
It's true. It's worse. Yeah, exactly. So if you've got the program now, you know what to do. Let's run with it.
All right. Just send that email to me, and I'll get it over to Constitution Man, and you guys can discuss it further. We're going to move on, though. We've got some questions on the board, if you don't mind. I'll read one here. It's my U.S. passport expires next month, and I want to renew it, get a new one, without using a Social Security number, and maybe even return the Social Security number entirely.
That's going to happen.
Huh?
You want their document, you will have to give them a Social Security number. Okay? You don't give them a Social Security number, you will not get the document. You'll also be surprised to find out that the IRS must clear your request for that passport, or you don't get it. That way, if you've got some outstanding bills to the IRS, you don't get your passport. They've been doing that for the last couple of years now. So when you go to renew your passport, you're going to find out you've got to get clearance from the IRS to even leave the country. Because people have owed the IRS a lot of money, and then they leave the country, you see. So the IRS is trying to put a hook on that.
So the idea that you're going to escape not providing a Social Security number. Now, I will give you some methods to try if you want to try that, but I'm telling you as a friend, you're probably not going to do it. But one of the things to put in the space when they ask you for your Social Security number is that you have a religious objection to the Social Security number based on Chapter 13, verse 16 through 18 of Revelations, which says, none shall buy or sell save he with the mark of the beast. And it's your religious belief that the Social Security number is the mark of the beast, and you don't have that. You don't have any such thing, okay? Now, what has happened is they come back to me and they usually say, well, we'll give you 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. That way you don't have a number. Let me tell you something. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 is still a number.
That's right. Okay, we have another one.
I don't want any mark of the beast, and it's my religious belief in the First Amendment. You're done. Now, normally they won't do nothing after that. They might even give you the passport, but I'm telling you as a general rule, you don't get no passport without a Social Security number. But there is a court case if you want it. It's called the Taco Bell case, and it basically said if you deny me any right that I'm entitled to because I don't choose to give you a Social Security number, I can sue your socks off. The famous Taco Bell case. Okay? Try it.
Okay.
You'll
All
be
right,
be a pine.
We have another question here. What do you do when they just throw all your documents away and tell you that you can't talk or file anything, and that you can't even write anything down?
Okay. What I tell them? This matter is removed from this court, Your Honor. May it please the court under 28 U.S. Code, Rule 1441 and 1446. I'm removing this matter to the United States Federal Court because it's obvious to me there's no possible way that I can get a fair hearing in this court, that you have disregarded all my constitutional rights, especially to present my case in chief. You have denied me my right to partake and do this particular court case in your court. I am personally of the absolute honest belief that there's no way possible I can get a fair hearing before this court, and I'm removing the matter to the United States Federal District Court, and I cite Rooker v. Feldman and Younger v. Harris as my case sites for my reasons, and I qualify under all 5 reasons as far as I've exhausted my administrative remedies with you. There is federal questions of constitutional rights and law here. I cannot possibly get a fair hearing in this, as you've demonstrated most clearly. The bottom line is I fit all of the 5 criteria. I've exhausted my remedies, and you just told me there's no way I'm getting any consideration before your court. So I remove the matter to the United States Federal District Court under 28 U.S. Code, Rule 1441. Have a nice day. Thank you for your time, Judge. And that case will be removed to the United States Federal Court, and they will not be happy. Because when it gets to federal court and the judge sees what's been done, like this crap that's just been pulled on you, all of a sudden, he's going to come unglued. Who the hell do you people think you are? You know, we have laws in this country. There's a Constitution. You promised that to get consideration to be a state, that you would enter into an irrevocable covenant and promise your people that they would have constitutional rights in this state, and that you would keep a Republican form of government, and that your Constitution would be exactly like the federal Constitution. Now I see your Constitution is different than the federal Constitution, and you want to tell this party you're not going to even give them any consideration. Wrong, dog breath. Now, you have a federal judge leaning on you. And I'll tell you what, that judge is going to lean on that court bad. They won't ever pull a stunt like that again. That's how to do it if you want to know. And I'll tell you what, that judge will be screaming when he does it, too. You don't do that, especially if you get judges like Horace R. Gilmore, and that's who I had when I did it. And Horace was a big round face, never smiled, had no sense of humor, and this IRS agent was just being a jerk. And he wouldn't give me my meeting, and the judge sent me over there especially to have my meeting with this guy, and I go over there and he ordered the marshals to remove me from the building, and I said, you must have a very, very good attorney. And he says, well, why do you say that? I said, well, the Honorable Horace R. Gilmore, maybe you heard of him, Chief Judge of the United States Federal District Court here in Detroit. He ordered me to be here this morning to have this meeting with you. And now I'm going to have to go back and tell him you told him to screw off and die. He wasn't holding no meeting. You must have a really, really good attorney. And he goes, well, let's not be hasty here. Let's not be hasty, because he knew what Judge Gilmore would do. Right to jail, do not pass go. And that would have been the end of that, right quick. So we had our meeting, we had our hearing, and they haven't bothered my guy since. The things that
when was that?
In 1985.
Oh,
and they haven't
that's cool.
my guy, and that's been over 20 years now.
Wow, that's great.
Creative argument. And you just lay it on them. You sure you want to do this? You sure you want to do this? Okay, but I'm going to have to go back and tell the federal judge you told him to screw off and die. You wouldn't hold no meeting. No, let's not be hasty here. Now, there's a couple of things that are in my favor. A lot of this movement started in the Detroit area and went to California. And New York had a big picture in it, too, because they indicted 25,000 police officers, and we got them all off, okay, for income tax evasion. Now, the courts here are going to be a lot more knowledgeable about people going in and arguing than maybe someplace out in Wautoki, Illinois or something, or some way out little tiny town. You understand? Our guys have been arguing this for in excess of 50 years, way back to the days when Irwin Schiff first started publishing his books. Okay, he did a lot of his seminars here in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
He has an unbelievable following here in Detroit of people who love him dearly. And the bottom line is, every time he got put in jail, he'd write a new book. And I'll tell you what, you can go over to these people's houses and every book he ever wrote will be on their shelf, you understand? So the people here are going to be a whole bunch more knowledgeable than anywhere else. Does that make sense to you? So
sure.
You go to court, these judges have to be prepared to deal with those people that are that knowledgeable, you see. So there's a big advantage to us because we've paid our dues and done this for 50 years, where you guys, a lot of you are just starting out and are new and green. So you have to overcome that lack of knowledge program before you get up to a speed where your arguments are going to be accepted as, hey, that's really good. I never heard that before. How many times have you people out there heard the judge? I never heard of that before. Where did you come up with that? I read, Judge. I read everything. I go to the law library once a week, whether I need to or not. And I read everything I can get my hands on. And you come to my house, you'll see on my bookshelf there'll be books by everybody who's got any kind of background at all in arguing this stuff, from Irwin Schiff on down, all the way to Cracking the Code and all these other programs, you understand? All those people came from here. So you can understand when the people from here go to court, they've been the product of We the People Act, those meetings where there were 2,500 tax people went in and filed tax exempt on their GM W-2 form in one day. Well, you can appreciate GM kind of went ballistics on that day. So, I mean, you're going against people that are very well trained here. I would say the average pro se litigant here is better than most attorneys ever wanted to be or thought about being. But then they've had the benefit of going to these meetings and listening to these shows and to the Angela programs for 50 years. I'm not dating Angela here. I'm just saying these programs have been ongoing for over 50 years. So obviously if I put one of my people up against somebody from a way out area in the country, they're not even going to be in the same league. And now I get attorney generals telling me, I don't even like to go against people like you. I said, excuse me, sir? He says, I hate going against people like you. I says, why is that? He says, well, either you're really, really good or you're really, really bad, and I don't get a chance to find out till the day of the court date, and that's usually too late, and then you argue the most god-awful shit. Where did you find all this stuff? And then I got to listen to my staff when I go upstairs. Hey, you take on any big cases lately? I hear you got whooped by a today. And I got to listen to that shit for the rest of the month, you know? And then the judge is telling me never before as a young man, not an attorney, so literally overwhelmed learner counsel for the prosecution, a licensed attorney, rant. I hate going against guys like you see. But see, we earned that over 50 years. It took 50 years of battling and filing papers and going to meetings and going to court cases and listening to this speaker and listening to that speaker and buying this guy's book and this Irwin Schiff and all these other people that actually had the cojones to publish this stuff.
Yeah.
You gotta understand, back when they did this, you had to have serious cojones to publish this stuff, because they came with a truck and raided your whole house, you see. We had a little short guy here. I can't give his name because I promised his wife. But he was a bookkeeper. He was a specialist in preparing taxes. And he made his own tax return. And he made it so no matter how you filled it out, you'd always get money back. He then proceeded to take his tax return and go to every post office around April 15th, and he would swap the government tax 1040s for his tax 1040s. So that everybody that went into that post office and grabbed one of those forms and thought he was filling out the government's 1040 was filling out his 1040. Well, all these people got all their money back. Well, the government was not real happy about that. Well, that's the kind of creative thinkers we've had here.
I wonder why.
And they put him in jail serious. And they went to his office. I can remember his office, and they put everything on the street. I mean, everything. They were very upset. And when I see the little guy today and I smile, how's everything going, Eugene? And he goes, don't even bring it up. I don't want to hear my wife bitching. I said, oh, I won't. I promise I won't. He said,
We've got a few questions.
All right, go.
California has a question. Go ahead, California.
Hi, Angela.
Come on, California.
Hi.
Hi, how are you? How are you doing? Hi,
Hi, thank you.
I just want to make a quick comment regarding the question and response regarding the passport and the Social Security number on the application.
Okay.
I first applied for my passport back in 1994. I went to Italy, and I took my mom with me. And she ended up putting her Social Security number in. She got hers, and I didn't want to do it. And I went to Westwood at the Federal Building on Wilshire Boulevard, and that was a long line, and I was getting mine expedited, and I brought my code books with me. My code books were from 1991, Internal Revenue Code, torn and tattered, and very used. And when I got to the table, prior to getting to the room that I had to get the passport, a woman there told me that my application was incomplete. I went, oh, it's complete. She goes, oh, no, you forgot to put the Social Security number in there. I said, well,
I don't have one.
No, it's complete. She goes, no, you need to put that in there. I said, well, what law requires me to do that?
There isn't any.
And she said, it's on the back of the application. Internal Revenue Code section, blah, blah, blah. I went, oh, is it?
Tell me.
I said, well, I took my code books, I slapped it on the table, and I said, show it to me where it requires me to do that.
Ain't there.
And she looked at me, she looked at the long line behind me, she said, why don't you go upstairs and they'll handle it up there?
Yeah.
So I went upstairs, and they never asked me a thing. I got my passport. I had it for 10 years. I renewed it, and I've had it so far for 18 years. And my renewal, I didn't put one on there either. I've never had a problem in 18 years.
Well, you got lucky. You got lucky that person didn't want to deal with you. You got lucky that they went upstairs, and they didn't want to deal with you either. And you had your own IRS book, and they were intimidated by you having your own IRS book, and they didn't want to get sued. So guess what? That Taco Bell case actually helped you out, because a lot of people have known about that Taco Bell case, and that's the one that says that if you deny me a benefit for my refusing to give you a Social Security number, I have a right to sue your socks off, okay? So some people are genuinely intimidated by that. Now, you need to understand, though, when you take that passport and go overseas and you need help, do you understand what I'm talking about here? And you are a rebel, and you got a chip on your shoulder, they say, and you're trying to get into that embassy and get some assistance on a serious problem that you may have overseas in a foreign country, what kind of chance do you think you're going to have?
I didn't have any problems with that either.
Did you have such a problem where you had to go to an embassy overseas?
I didn't have to go to the embassy, but I had to get some assistance, and I didn't have any problems at all. I talked to the Department of State in Washington, D.C., and what they told me was, oh, that's not a requirement from the Department of State. That's just a requirement for the IRS, but that has nothing to do with us. And they said, you do not have to fill that in.
Yeah.
That's what they told me from Washington, D.C., Department of State.
And you can put right in there religious objection.
I didn't put anything in it. I just left it blank.
Religious objection on mine, okay?
Yeah, I didn't want to put anything for them to tag me with as to the reason why. So I just left mine blank. But in 18 years, I've never had a problem.
And
I use it all the time.
Well, that was a good plan. And actually, it looks like it was just a clerical inadvertence, and you didn't put it down, and decided it's too late now. And he's already got the damn thing anyway, and just let him slide. But I'm telling you, you could open yourself up for a lot of problems if you were overseas and needed help, and they had tagged you as being some type of rebel or some type of terrorist. And I think, you know,
They could do that to you right here where you live. It's called a Patriot Act. You know, it doesn't matter. The way I look, I mean, when I go on a flight, people look at me real strange because I look like from some terrorist country, but I was born right here.
They said you strange. Why?
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Because they're probably part of the security task force on that plane.
Yeah, and I've never really, in my conversation with the Department of State, they just told me that it's not a regulation or a statute that's required for the Department of State to even get a passport. She said, you don't have, but she said, if the IRS comes after you, she goes, that's the only reason that's there. She goes, it has nothing to do when you travel around the world. She goes, you still have the same protections around the world, wherever you go, even though you didn't fill that in. It's just, it's domestically here. If the IRS comes after you, then you have to deal with it. I said, I can deal with it. I'm fine.
That's right. You have to deal with it. That's right.
Yeah.
Now, let me tell you, there's a new rule, a new wrinkle in the program, okay? And the new wrinkle in the program is that the IRS is requiring that you get a clearance from the IRS to leave the country, okay? So they want that Social Security number.
Oh, where? I never heard that. Where's that?
Go check. You'll see I'm right. You'll find out. They want you to clear with the IRS before you leave the country because a lot of people have been just getting on planes and not coming back, and they owe big debts to the IRS. So the IRS has set it up now so that you have to have an IRS clearance from the passport people, or they can't give you your right to leave.
So that's with the Department of State?
It's with the people that issue the passports.
Department of State.
In my case here, it's Chicago, okay? And they tried to give me a big hassle about that, okay? I said, look, I'm going to tell you straight up. I don't need your permission to travel. I have a right to travel freely and unencumbered. That's Shapiro versus Thompson, 394 U.S. 618. On top of that, you're infringing on my right as a free person to move about a free country and do my business and my programming. And if you're going to continue this discrimination, I'm going to sue your socks off. Now, see, as soon as they call my name up, when I get ready to get on the plane, immediately guards come all around me, okay?
Were you able to ask them what section of the Internal Revenue Code required that?
You and what are you doing? Well, we want to check you out. We've got you on a list. What do you mean you got me on a list? What kind of list? He said, well, you're on a special watch list. He said, well, I haven't done anything to be on a watch list. I'm a decorated war hero. I said, I don't need you. You're discriminating. Get your supervisor here. Get him here now. And, boy, you better have a good attorney.
So would that be Internal Revenue Code or would that be Homeland Security? That would be the issue of.
It doesn't matter when somebody's standing there with a gun. You understand? See, this is where people get into this idiocy of arguing fly shit out of pepper, okay? If they're standing there with a gun, it doesn't matter what reason they give or who they work for or what have you. The bottom line is they're standing there with a gun and they're stopping you from getting on the plane. And they better have a good reason, or I'm going to sue your socks off. I hope you got a good attorney.
Well, that sounds like Homeland Security. I know someone who works for Homeland Security, and I can ask and find out. But the thing is, it sounds like a Homeland Security issue.
And make sure you come back and tell us what happened. It is. And see, people like me are on a special what they call watch list because they regard us. If anybody should regard me as a super American, they should. I served my country. I did 3 combat tours in Vietnam. I was a decorated war hero. I got letters from the president thanking me for my service. If anybody should be a loyal American, I've had top secret security clearances for years and years and years, all the way to the CIA. I mean, I should be totally above any question, you see. And
you know what Dean Clifford says? He says, write to the embassies before you go visit. Tell them you're coming to that country.
Well, it's anything you do to prepare is always better, okay? But understand, when you are in that country, you're at their mercy. Just do understand that. And if it looks like you're a rabble-rouser and you're causing, any kind of bullshit to them, they're not inclined to want to help you. And that's part of the problem. And if you've gotten a serious problem over there for some reason, and here's what happened to a friend of mine, and she didn't think nothing of it. And she's going to London. In London, she's a Rhodes Scholar. You understand? She's a super, very well educated. She goes to Oxford University. She's a genius. And she married a British gentleman, okay? He got in a traffic accident in Austria, and she flew immediately to his aid, okay? Now, she's got a passport. She's got a green card. She's got a visa. She's got identification up the wazoo. She has an apartment in London. She has a car licensed in England and London. She has, credentials that get her in Oxford University in the special doctoral program. And see, when she came back to London and landed at Heathrow Airport, they wouldn't let her in the country. They have a little rule there that says before you leave, you have to let them know you're leaving. This was after they had that husband and wife spy scandal over there. And so she didn't know that. This was an emergency. Her husband got in an accident. And so she flew to Austria to help him. Well, when she got him squared away, she flew home. And when she got to London Heathrow Airport, they refused her entrance in. They put her back on the plane and sent her back to Austria. And I get a call from her mom. Her mom is affectionately known as the cat lady, okay? She takes care of cats. She goes out, finds them all by the dumpsters and what have you. She feeds them. She takes them back. She gets them all cleaned up and medically, what have you. She takes care of their medical needs, takes them over to the vet, gets them fixed. Then she gets on the internet and finds them home. And she's affectionately known as a cat lady. And whenever she gets thrown in jail for having too many cats, I always get a call to come help her, okay? So she calls me. She says, my daughter has been refused entrance to get back in the country, even though she has a visa and her passport. And she's literally living out of the airport like that guy in that movie, in Austria. And I'm afraid some of these wackos are going to catch her as an American and take a young girl and put her in some Sheikh of Arabique's harem someplace and make a sex slave out of her or some other crap. And I says, well, no, settle down. Let's get this whole thing. Give me the whole story. She gave me the whole story. I said, all right, I'll call you back in an hour. Not to worry. We'll get this resolved. I called the top guy for Lloyd's of London in Chicago who knows me real good, and he knows I'll sue. He knows that I'm not playing, okay? And I got on the horn with him, and I says, my niece is a student living in London. She has a visa. She has a passport. She's a bona fide American citizen. She's also a British citizen. She's married to a British subject. I said she's a doctor going for her doctoral thesis at Oxford University. I said her husband got in a car wreck in Austria. She had to fly to his assistance right away. When she returned, they refused to allow her back in the country at Heathrow Airport and put her on a plane back. And she's living out of a suitcase in the damn airport. I said, now I'm going to tell you what's about to happen here, pal. If one hair of her head gets into a harem someplace in the Sheikh of Arabique and she ends up a sex slave, I'm going to attach the jewels of the Queen in the Tower of London for $500 trillion. You got my drift? Oh, I say, Chappie, that's a bit severe, don't you think? You tell the Queen I said so. I'm going to come get all her jewels. Now, nothing better happened to that girl. Do you know the Queen sent her personal jet to pick that girl up in Austria, bring her back to the palace? She had dinner with the Queen. The Queen apologized profusely. And I get a call from my cat lady friend telling me, oh, my daughter, it's all fine. Everything is wonderful. Thank you. I don't know how to ever pay you back for all the kindnesses you've helped me with, And my daughter got to have dinner with the Queen. Da-da-da-da-da. Now, you got any kind of idea how much money was involved in that little transaction just over the phone? Knowledge is when you're in trouble, you need special help. And you've got to have knowledge. You've got to know how to use it and twist arms. And sometimes you don't want to have a passport that could be marked to where when you get on the plane, you got all these guys packing guns sitting right behind you because they regard you as a terrorist. That's not a vacation in my book. When I take my wife and family on vacation, I don't want nobody threatening my family, period. You threaten my family, I'll break your face. You know what I'm saying? That's how I feel about it. Leave me and my family alone and we'll get along fine. And sometimes if you highlight yourself and make yourself a target, guess what? Hey, you're a target. So think carefully before you do stuff, not after. After's too late. When they're pointing guns, them guns can go off, and you could be dead, and you could be dead right, but you're still dead. So you got to use good judgment at all times. That's my lesson for that point. Sometimes it's not too good to paint a target on your back.
Is there any way to know ahead of time? Like, I didn't have any trouble with my passport, and
Well, if you didn't have any trouble, God bless you, you're doing good. But technically, there is a law, and there is a lawsuit that protects you, and it's called the Taco Bell case. And it says that if they deny you any benefit for you not providing a Social Security number, they can be sued, and sued but good. Just remember, though, when you do that they're going to watch you real close. Just like this gentleman said, all kind of people were looking at him funny on the plane. Why do you suppose that was? Because they'd had a briefing before the plane left. But they probably were briefed to keep an eye on this guy. Anybody who doesn't think they have people on the plane, they're just stupid. They don't understand. There's sky marshals on that plane. There's all kind of people watching on that plane. You don't just send planes off anymore without proper security. Especially if you go to Israel or someplace like that.
When I went to Germany and Switzerland, I ended up babysitting like the way over and the way back. So I became known as the babysitter.
Hey, Nanny. Yeah, Nanny. Nanny loves kids. Nanny couldn't threat to nobody. She loves kids. So. Anybody else got a serious?
I don't see anything. Oh, here, North New Jersey. Go ahead, Patricia. Is that you?
Hello?
Okay, hello. Who's this?
Oh, this is Sean. How's everybody doing?
Fine. Hi, Sean. Did you have a question for Constitution Man?
Yes. I heard him talking about the federal court before. If you file a removal or if you put it in federal court. I can tell you from my experience, I have filed from a local court to a federal court and got a case dismissed. And I also filed
it worked.
From
a
local.
It got dismissed in your favor?
Yeah, it got dismissed in my favor. And also, I have filed from a local court to a federal court, and the federal court remanded back, and they termed it as the word moot, spelled M-O-O-T.
All right. Well, let me ask you: did you put issues in there of real serious issues, or did you just want to piss them off and remove it just to cause them time, money, materials?
Well, I put serious issues in there because
you put serious
some
issues?
Yes, I put serious issues in there because some federal courts are in cahoots with the local courts. Now, I had a superior court tell me that what I submitted was not a crime. Then I went to superior court in New York, which is not a real superior federal court, and he told me it was a crime. So, of course, I'm going to go along with the superior court of the state.
Are you trying to tell me that there are corrupt individuals in every court in this land?
No, what I'm telling you from my experience, what court is corrupt, the one I went to. Now, or the other ones, I don't know. I only can tell you from my experience.
All right. Well, you had a bad experience because when I've gone to federal court, most of the time they at least give you a serious hearing. You at least get to state your case. The other gentleman, they were going to tape his mouth and shut him up, and he wasn't going to be allowed to present his case or any of his issues. At least they give you a hearing in federal court, which is more than they do it a lot in the state courts. I've heard the state courts say, if you say one more word, I'll take your mouth and chain you to that chair. And
yes, when I removed it to the federal court, the local court, they dismissed it. They didn't want to have, so.
Oh, they didn't want to go to the expense. They didn't want to go to the expense. Oh, you're one of those guys who wants to make a federal case out of everything, they'll say. And then they just dismiss it. I'll tell you what, we're not going to waste this court's time further. We'll just dismiss it. I've actually had it to me and tell me, I said, well, Your Honor, I wanted to fight this all the way to the Supreme Court. And the judge told me, well, the Supreme Court's kind of busy this time of year. We're just going to dismiss it. We don't have time for this shit.
Okay. But then I know I did it a second time, I think a couple of years later, and I didn't have no hearing. And I know the federal court remanded it back to the local court. And like I said, they use the word moot.
Well, they could do that. And if you didn't put any issues in there that were substantially federal, they could do that. If they determine that you didn't put any issues in there, well, that's their determination. Then you'd have to take it back and refight it in the state court. But the beauty of that is that you would have at least made the effort to go to federal court. So if they violate your rights, at least the court that it's coming to is going to know, hey, this guy is going to sue.
Mm-hmm.
If this guy is going to sue, I better pay a little better attention here and not piss this guy off. Otherwise, we'll be back in federal court, you see.
Mm.
But at least you'll get a listen. See, when they think that you'll do it, if they think you'll do it, then you get listened to. It's when they think, oh, you're not going to do nothing. I was sitting in a police precinct one day, and this guy is ranting and raving, and I'm going to, you know who I am, and I'm going to sue your socks off, and ran. And he's carrying on, and the desk sergeant leans over the desk, and he says, let me tell you something, pal. We ain't even worried about you. You know how many times people tell me in a day they're going to sue me? You know how many times I got people telling me, do you know who I am? All this yada, yada, yada. I ain't even worried about you. You're just a big-mouth asshole. I don't even have to pay attention to you. Now, you see that guy sitting down on the end of that bench? Notice he don't say nothing. Notice he's got a piece of paper and a pencil, and every time some officer goes by, he's writing down badge numbers and name tags. That guy, he'll sue. We know that guy will sue. We ain't worried about you, pal. You're just a big mouth. When we see a guy like that, we watch it, because we know that guy's serious as a heart attack. And we got this guy's file, and this guy sues everybody. So you might want to watch his style. He really knows his shit cold. Notice he ain't making all the noise you're making. And notice everybody that goes by, he's writing it down. Everybody that's doing anything, he's writing it down. If you act like a jerk, they're going to treat you like a jerk. But if you look like you know what you're doing, all of a sudden things change real fast. You want to see something happen when that cop is talking to you on the street. Just burn a hole in his chest looking at that badge number and name tag, and you will see that cop change his entire program. Burn a hole in his chest, staring right at that badge number and that name tag, and you will notice he cleans it up a whole bunch. There's no point in talking all kind of trash and profanity, and you're just a jerk, da-da-da-da-da. You just burn a hole in his chest looking at that name tag and that badge number. And I promise you, he will change his whole demeanor. He'll probably start by saying, going to sue me? And you don't have to answer that. You don't have to say nothing. You give him the Chinese clothes. Don't say nothing. I say you don't know. Probably should just assume the worst. It'd be better off for you. Or they'll say, are you an attorney, sir? You don't know. You just assume the worst. It'd be better off for you. Got pulled over in New York City, of all the places, and I'm friends with all them cops because I saved their bacon. They would have been doing time in jail for that tax evasion thing. And they pulled me over in a check lane. And I'm sitting there in a suit and a tie looking like, to the 9s and the 10s, and this cop pokes his head through the window and he's sniffing real hard. I said, excuse me, where are you boys coming from? I said, we're coming from such and such a hotel, from a law seminar. And the guy goes, a law seminar? And I said, yeah. He said, at such and such a hotel? And we said, yeah. He says, by any chance, are you Carl Miller? I says, bingo. Go to the head of your class. And he goes, we're out of here. We're out of here now. Pack it up. Let's go. And as fast as these guys set up this check lane, they were gone. Orange barrels, everything in the trunk, threw it, and all of a sudden they were there in full force, and the next thing a minute, totally vacant, empty street. You had to see it to believe it. And my buddy, who was the driver at the time, leaned over. He says, Carl, you really drive them boys nuts. You know that? I said, well, hey, he was running a check lane. I asked him, was this one of these check lanes that was ruled by the United States Supreme Court in the case of Sills versus the Michigan State Police is unconstitutional? That's all I had to say. That was the end of that. We're out of here. Pack it. We're gone. And they shut down that check lane just that fast and disappeared. They all know who was doing the law seminar that day at that particular hotel because that was the day to help the cops get off on the 25,000 guys that were busted for income tax evasion. They all knew what law seminar was at that hotel that day. And as soon as he figured it out, he realized, oh, my God, I pulled over the guy. Oh, shit. So they just packed it and left. When they fear the people, you have justice. When the people fear the government, you have tyranny, you see. You have to figure a way to make them fear you. It's usually done by being smarter and using good judgment than it is by more than running your mouth and talking trash.
Well, we've gone past the 2-hour mark.
Oh, really?
Fun. That went fast.
Yeah, it sure does go by when you're having fun.
Let's do it again.
Absolutely. Every Thursday we do it.
And they know that you're that ready. And you're just, we'll do it again. Let's do it all over again. I love Rangers. They used to do that shit all the time. You just spent 3 days climbing this mountain, and you come down and the CO tells you, you forgot your radio on top of that mountain. Sir, I got my radio right in my hand. Can't you see it's right here in my... I said, you forgot your radio looking on the top of that mountain. Go back up. Now, I could have sat there and gone, oh, sir, come on, you're just pulling my chain here. Here's my radio. Check the number on it. It's checked out to me. I just put the radio back in my pack, turned around, we went halfway up the mountain, camped for 3 days, went fishing and had a ball, came back down. He says, how come you didn't call on the radio? I said, my radio was on top of the mountain, sir. He says, oh, smart guy, huh? I said, smart enough to know you said my radio was on top of the mountain. We had to go back up and get it. I got my radio now, sir. I can call in now to report. He never pulled that shit on me again. But I'm telling you, they try and break your heart and make you want to do it. Oh, we got to do that all over again. That's it. I quit.
That's their ultimate. They want to break you spiritually, physically, mentally, any way they can.
You got to show them you ain't breaking me, pal. I'm a pit bull, and I don't DOR. I don't drop on request. I'm not going to ring your bell. I'm gonna fight this to the death. And I mean, I would break my legs in parachuting accidents, and they'd say, "You want to quit, sir? No, sir. You broke your legs. You can't train now. I can do any damn thing, sir. I'm highly motivated and highly trained. I can run to the sun." Oh, tough guy, huh? Tough enough to know, sir, I ain't quitting. We'll see. And then they let you go. See, if they know you're a fighter and you'll fight, they'll let you go. But if you wimp out, oh man, they're on your ass like stink on duty. You can't wimp out. And then I give them my big shit grin. See, did you ever notice that when you give somebody your big shit grin, how good it makes you feel? There's something in there that has to do with health. It makes your whole enzyme system. But when you get a big shit grin on your face, no matter how bad things get, you get a big shit grin on your face, and all of a sudden you say, "It ain't so bad. I can do this shit. I can do any damn thing, sir. Yes, sir. I can run to the sun." You know, you get this mental attitude, and all of a sudden, it ain't so bad. I can do this. I can do this. And all of a sudden, and then that black cat would come back and say, "Did I tell a funny joke?" "No, sir." "Why are you laughing?" "You laughing at me?" "Nobody laughs at me." He'll say, You like me, right? Liking leads to loving, and loving leads to you-know-what? Nobody does that to me. Got me, soldier? Sir, yes, sir. And you just keep giving them that shit then, and they know there's no way they're going to get to you. They're not going to get to you. You're not going to give up, no matter what. That's the attitude.
Well,
you have to have.
Go ahead.
Anyway, do we have any more questions? Serious people want to play serious ball.
No, we sure don't. Oh, wait, here's one. Ask Carl, what would it take to do a statewide joinder for a declaratory judgment based on the law of the right to travel?
Well, that would take a lot. You would have to have the paperwork to cover it. You would be wanting to use all of the Supreme Court cases that we have, Bureau versus Thompson, 394 U.S. 618. You'd have to file a writ of mandamus, literally, and you would have to have it compel all judges, and you'd have to send it on every court so that they all knew that they had due process and they were served, that they know that this is, you'd have to probably inform the governor and the prosecutor's office. Now, we did that one time. It was called a writ de droit, and we literally served every judge in my state of Michigan. I remember I was one of them that served the judges, and I remember I had to serve Judge Sheehy, the coffee bean judge. And when I served him, he looked at me and he says, you're a very intelligent man. Don't you think you're going a little over the edge here? And I said, well, Judge, we're going to get things done in this state. Notice. Notice is what this is, Judge. They're given notice to everybody in the state who would come into a situation where they'd have to make an authoritative decision. And that's why they're letting all the judges know about this writ de droit, so that the judges can be aware that this is what's about to happen, and that it's all done legal, right by the book. Nobody's a terrorist here. Nobody's trying to play any games. They're actually giving people written notice. And see, the new jury, de jure organization that's forming the grand jury for each state. Michigan is one of those states, and we've got quite a grand jury here working. And see, you have to have your paperwork in perfect order, and you have to have everything, all your I's dotted and your T's crossed. And see, then when you commission the grand jury to come forward and they issue, a judgment, I mean, they're bound. That prosecutor had better listen up, because he's legally bound. And if that grand jury meets and they make a serious lawful determination about the safety and welfare of the people of, say, this community, and you don't do nothing about it, you're legally liable, and you can be sued. That's what's happening. He's asking what court, state, Superior Court or District Court? No, you'd have to be in a Superior Court. District Court only handles little, tiny matters, usually $10,000 or less, sometimes $25,000, up to $25,000, but it's a small court. You want a big court that would be like a county. Holy crap! Our district court put me in for $50,000, so that must vary from most states only allow $10,000. Wow! But you're going to have a serious court that's going to issue. You may even have to go on what is called an original jurisdiction to your state Supreme Court and say that these are issues of socially redeeming necessity, and we need the Supreme Court to hear this matter and issue a judgment on behalf of the people of the state of whatever. Okay? Now, you're into areas where you're breaking trail big time. Nobody's ever really done stuff like this before, you understand? Obviously, you're asking questions of a theoretical nature that it would take serious law students considerable time to consider all of the issues and the legal ramifications and the court rules that would apply to doing this. Okay. So, this isn't just something somebody's going to rattle back at you off the hip. It's not happening. And if you go to court and you have your issues all screwed up and not organized and not properly substantiated or verified or proper court cases to back up your issue, you're just going to get tossed on your head. And a lot of people will cite all kind of court cases with, you're not going to believe this, but did you know that you have to actually read the court case or you can't cite it? A lot of people don't know that. You don't read the court case, well, then what did you rely on to form your basis and your opinion to put it in this case? I don't know, Judge. It just sounded like a good court case to me, so I just threw it in there, you know? No, you can't do. See, you've got to have your ducks in a row. You can't just go into court and talk trash. You'll get tossed on your head. So you'd really have to have some serious guys. They would have to organize. They'd have to, pull all the stops out. Probably if it was me and I was doing that, I would, get about 8 or 10 of the best guys that I knew in law, and we would go down a basement someplace or get in a quiet little room, and we would all have notebooks with, and what we would do is we would probably start out by first presenting what we're trying to do. This is what we're trying to do, boys. We're trying to get into court, and we're trying to do this issue, okay? Now, what we want you to do is come up with some ideas on how you think we might affect this program. Now, if you know some court rules, put them down. If you know some court cases, put them down. And we'll try and put together between us all a serious brief where the issue is this is what we're trying to do, this is where we're going with it. Right now, for the next half hour, I'm going to shut down all sound and noise and what have you, and you guys just think on it, and then in half an hour I'll be back, and I'll be looking for your comments and what you think.
Sounds like you're running out of battery juice there.
Probably so, because I've been jaw-jacking a long time.
Yeah, we're going to close it up. We've gone over 2 hours. Thank you so much, Constitution Man.
I never quit.
You stick to it, boy. I love it.
All right. God love everybody out there. This has been a very interesting program. There's some serious thought here.
Thank you so much for coming and enlightening us with your wisdom. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time. Thank you, next Constitution Man. I'm sorry, I almost said your name. We'll see you next time. Oh, thank you. Thanks for coming on the call.
Good night.
Talk to you next time. Bye. Well, we'll see you on Saturday for Jack's call. And who else? Oh, Protectors of Liberty. And then Sunday we got John Stewart. And we'll see you then. Bye.